Hi guys, welcome to my top 5 PS1 games. My god, this is one hell of a selection of titles to go back. I mean, when back in the day when the games were coming out for this, there was 10 coming out every other day. It was absolutely crazy, and just being able to go back through so many games, and there was a lot of crap on the PS1, but there's a lot of good stuff as well. And it was always to my regret I didn't get into it for a good few years after the system had been released. I always annoyed me that because I ended up with a Saturn, and the Saturn was a good enough console in its own way, but it just had nowhere near the depth and breadth of the decent titles that the PS1 had. And just going back over this list, I've tried to pick my favourite ones, which I've had experience back in the day and recently. A very tough selection, but I'm sure that you're going to disagree because there were so many games for it. But if you do, stick it in the comments below, or if you think you've got any suggestions which you think are even better than what I've done, put them in the comments below. I'm always willing to have a chat about it because there's always bound to be some new stuff I might not have played, or I can go back and discover. Help me find some new games, guys. So yeah, let's jump right in. Number 5 is I don't know how to pronounce this one. It's either Suikoden or Suikoden 1. I always call it Suikoden in my mind, but that's down to my terrible accent. Now, this is your typical Square RPG at first. You know, it's a whole... you're developing a guy, and you're going through this stuff. I don't want to spoil it, but the great thing about it is there's like over 100 characters, NPCs you can recruit to join your party, and as you go through the game you have to get involved in their adventures and side quests for them. And part of this, when you complete it successfully or unsuccessfully in many cases, they will join up with you, and you build up like a castle and a fortress, and all evolves around this evil empire style. Struggling around this tyranny, and it's a very interesting story. And the battle system is it's quite typical for the time, and you know, is that Final Fantasy style tactics. But anyway, that's not the point. The thing is, it's such a rich game story wise. Some of the stuff that happens and some of the issues you deal with, and the way the characters bounce off one another, and the main character quests, and there's some very sad moments, and I'm not going to go into details, but somebody gives a life to save somebody else, and there's a whole choice behind it all, and how everybody deals with it afterwards. And for the time, it was incredibly... I dabbled with it back in the day, but I never got into it until a good few years after the system had died. But it's a brilliant game, absolutely brilliant, and it's still worth going back to this day. The sequels... Number 2, I didn't. It's a good game, but I didn't think it was good as the first one. But again, that's down to personal opinion. But number 1 tops it for me. Moving on to number 4. A good few in this series, but Gran Turismo 2. Why did I pick this over the first one? Just because the first one was a very good game. The second one was even better. Everything was... It controlled better, it looked better, they improved everything. The whole driving license system and the way you could earn credits and build up your garage and your cars, and it was just a fantastic... It was like a simulation style arcade racer, because you couldn't damage the cars, and it was just a fantastic game. And the series has stalled a bit in recent years, because there's a whole fighting thing in modern console with the Xbox, with the whole Forza world, which I've never really been into. But Gran Turismo 2 for me was just one of them standout racing games. It's still worth going back to this day because it's a lot of fun. But yeah, a brilliant race, and probably the best on the system, I think. Right, moving on to number 3, and it should be no surprise really, but it's Metal Gear Solid 1. My god, playing this back in the day, I played it about a year after its release. It was the movies meets computer games. You'd never played anything this deep before, or this style of story in a 3D world, and the whole sneaking around mechanics, and you were taking on this whole military base, and the way the story develops as you're going along, and there's stuff like the whole trick with a controller. I don't want to spoil it for someone, but you get told to place your controller down with the original PS1, and because it had the rumble, it would shake and move around rapidly over the floor, and it was actually quite terrifying. And then of course the enemy would be able to read what you had saved on your memory card, no matter what they get, and he'd actually tell you what it was. And just standout moments like that, and it was just, and I know what it did with the rest of it. It pretty much defined how the rest of that series went on from that point. So bloody good game with some amazing music, and I love it to bits. Moving on to number 2, and it is Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Now I did not play this back in the day. I was never really a big Castlevania fan back then. It's something that happened later, but this one is just, you know, it's the whole weapon system, the RPG style, exploring the castle, and the way you build and develop, because you're Alucard, and it's just you, Dracula's son, I believe. Yeah, it was just such a fantastic game. It was this what was it called? Metroidvania style in a way. Now the way you explore the castle, but it redefined that entire genre of games from that point on, and then the way all the others tried to copy it and redevelop the ideas it came up with, and it had such fantastic music and the baddies, and it was just gothic and lovely. I'm trying not to get too excited, but it's such a great game. Last time I played it was on the Xbox 360, because they re-released it on live, and it was a competent enough port. It wasn't too bad, but I played it right through there, and then went back later and did it on my PSP for a while. And I think I rebought it on the Vita recently on the PSN, so it's cheap. It's a fantastic game, and there's so much you can do in it and so much to explore, so it's go and pick it up, yeah. Anyway, last but not least, and number 1 is Final Fantasy VII. Now this is what got me into RPGs. Going about the music was amazing. I'm sure you've seen my channel. I've got the Final Fantasy VII vinyl. I've got characters knocking around me living room, my house, and I've had posters in the past and sound. And I never really liked any of the other Final Fantasy games after 7, because it was just so special, and the whole big thing. I'm sorry guys, spoilers, but Eris dies, and her whole death, and the way she dies, and the way she's murdered, and the way the characters all deal with that, and it's all self-inflicting and all folding on itself. That sounds weird, doesn't it? But it was. I'd never played anything like it, and I don't think I played anything as good as it since. I mean, I did do a relook video at the PS4 re-release. Go and look on my channel for that. But it still holds up, I think, to this day. It's a lot of fun. The story still sticks with it. Originally, when I played it, the script was a bit ropey, but you could usually understand the points they were getting at. It was very broken what they'd done in the translation. They've since fixed it for the PS4 and the Steam edition, which is a bit broken, by the way. The PC one, you have to patch it a fair bit. But it's just a fantastic game. It's one of them all-time defining RPGs for me, and it's the one I return to time after time. So yeah, that's my all-time favourite PS1 game. As always guys, thanks for watching. If you've any comments about what I've suggested, or again you've got carry on stuff that you want to recommend because you think I've missed some obvious ones, then stick them in the box below. Until next time.